Welcome, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Fair Territory. I'm Ken Rosenthal here with Alanna Rizzo. And Alanna, can you believe it? The domestic opening day is 1 week away from today. That's right. The season starts in 1 week. And as spring training winds down, we've got some interesting things to discuss.
We do, Ken. Always great to be with you. Let's get right to it as we get going with the lead here on Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal. And Ken, I know it's hard for me to say this, but it's not just about the Los Angeles Dodgers. You have a team in mind that could literally be their biggest competitors. Who is it?
The Atlanta Braves. And I am intrigued by the Braves, obviously, because of what the projection systems say. Most of them have the Braves as the second best team in baseball behind the Dodgers. And I'm also intrigued by the depth that they're building with some of these minor league contracts in recent weeks. Hector Neris, James McCann, Craig Kimbrell. And finally, Alanna, I know it's spring training. It doesn't count. I shouldn't even be paying attention. But the Braves starting pitching is starting to look like, well, not starting to look like, it could be quite formidable. And I'm talking about 3 performances in the past week. And again, spring training, I'm going to qualify it. But these guys all are either established as decent major league pitchers or really good major league pitchers. And you go back to Saturday, and that's A.J. Smith-Shawver. He's a young prospect, 22, struck out 8 in 4 innings against the Twins. Spencer Strider, his first appearance since his elbow surgery in April of 24, 8 Ks and 2 2/3, including 5 in a row at one point. And that was incredibly encouraging for the Braves with Strider coming back. And then last night, Thursday night, actually it was Wednesday, I guess, Spencer Schwellenbach, 10 Ks, 6 innings against the Yankees. Again, spring training, but the Braves, once they get Acuna back, once they get Sean Murphy back, they're going to be quite interesting. Are they as good as the Dodgers on paper? Well, no, not according to the projection systems, but this is a formidable team that, frankly, I don't believe we've talked enough about.
Certainly a challenger to the Los Angeles Dodgers in the National League. Ken, I want to go back to that graphic for just a second. What I noticed there, not only are they all with S's as far as starting their last name with, but look at the swing and miss. I mean, there's 26 strikeouts among the 3 of those guys. A lot of Ks as far as that is concerned in those 3 outings that you mentioned. Are they all the same type of pitcher? How do you break them down when you look at those 3 in particular?
No, they're not the same type. And of course, no 2 pitchers are exactly alike. Strider is the ace, the Cy Young candidate, the guy that you think might ultimately be one of the great pitchers of this generation, should he stay healthy and keep it together. Smith-Shawver, again, promising, different kind of pitcher to some degree, but he's a guy with a world of talent. And Schwellenbach, we saw this guy last year. He was really good last year. He has incredible athleticism and poise on the mound for someone who really hasn't pitched all that much. So he's intriguing. And of course, the one S who is missing from that list is the reigning Cy Young winner. That would be Chris Sale. Ronaldo Lopez also a part of that rotation. They've got Ian Anderson, who has not had a good spring, and Grant Holmes also for depth. I just kind of like where they are with their starting pitching for starters. And then the offense, once Acuna comes back. And remember, this is his second knee surgery on the other knee, but he's gone through this rehab before. He knows what it entails. He knows that it's going to take time for him to keep his recovery process going and then come back as good as he hopefully can be. So this is a team that had some offensive regression last year off its great 23. I would expect they're going to be really good.
I would never count out an Alex Anthopoulos or Brian Snitker-led squad. Love the Atlanta Braves, what they've done over the course of the last 10 years at least. All right, let's go over to a team, Ken, in the American League that has always been a perennial power, at least for the last decade, and that is the Houston Astros. This is a little perplexing to me, and I understand you're going to put guys in positions to succeed, and you're also going to put guys where your roster dictates in terms of positions, but I'm a little confused about the move of Jose Altuve to left field. I understand he's not the best defensive second baseman, but what do you make of the move to left?
Obviously, this week there were some hiccups, and he had some plays. You might have seen the videos by now that did not go well, but it is spring training, and you would hope that as time goes on, he gets more accustomed to the position. But Alanna, you hit it on the head. He had become a well below average second baseman. By any metric you use, he was among the worst in the league. Maybe he was a little bored at the position, and maybe he needed a new challenge. So remember, this idea began to germinate after Well, when Alex Bregman was a free agent, and at that point, the Astros said Altuve had volunteered to change positions. They would move Paredes to second base, keep Bregman at third if they kept him. But actually, this idea has been kind of getting kicked around with the Astros for years. And what was interesting to me, or what has been interesting this spring, is to see Altuve so energized again, so excited about his move to the outfield. I don't know that he was happy being a below average second baseman. Now, maybe he'll be a below average left fielder. Of course, that's the risk you take here. But he is going to be the primary left fielder. Joe Espada, the manager, announced that yesterday. And I expect that he'll play a competent left field in time. Might not happen right away. But this move was made for a few reasons. And the fact that he is so into it and so energized by it, that to me indicates that, yeah, it was the right thing to do.
Well, you can certainly get more on Crush Territory with Chandler Rome, among others, here on the Foul Territory Network. You said a competent left fielder, Ken. Is that enough? Obviously, he's not going to be the DH with Yordan Alvarez there. He's a below average second baseman. Is a competent left fielder for the Houston Astros enough, especially
It
without the
is.
services of Kyle Tucker and Wright?
Right. You're talking about a guy who's still going to be, I would expect, an elite hitter. And he is Jose Altuve. Now, the question I have is if he does struggle defensively, does that carry over to his offense? But you can make the case that he's struggled defensively for several years now, and it really hasn't carried over much. So he is still a fast player at 35 years old, I believe. And he's still a guy that, to me, is savvy enough and veteran enough to figure this all out. And as far as defensively, yes, confidence would be enough. We're not looking for gold glove out there from him. We're looking for him just simply to handle the position.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the offense does without Kyle Tucker in right field as well, and without Alex Bregman, their third baseman. All right, before we continue on with the Phillies and what's going on with their analytical department, rather easy for me to say, let's hear from our friends over at Spot and Tango. And I can tell you, having a rescue dog myself, Bentley absolutely loves Spot and Tango. It is a personalized dog food subscription service. What they like to say is it's unkibble, and that means obviously it's high quality, ready to make meals, snacks, and supplements right to your door. I used to hate feeding Bentley kibble. In fact, I won't feed Bentley kibble, but Spot and Tango is anything but. There she is. She enjoys it so much, obviously. Most kibble, guys, is packed with fillers, mystery ingredients. Who knows what's in it, but Spot and Tango does things differently. Their unkibble meals are made with human-grade ingredients, including USDA meat, fruits, and veggies. No artificial junk. You don't want to give your dog processed food. No dog should be eating processed stuff for all of their meals. Spot and Tango creates a custom plan based on your dog's age, breed, weight. Bentley is almost 10 years old, so she's known as a senior gal. Apparently, they do treats too. Derek Lewandowski said that his pup stole his biscuit this morning. You should be feeding your pup Spot and Tango, Derek. Again, a customized meal plan. This is what you can do here as they are a member of our team here. Spot and Tango is offering an exclusive deal just for our listeners. So take advantage of that. For a limited time, go to spotandtango.com/foul, Foul, and use that code FOUL to get 50% off your first order. That's spotandtango.com/foul. Use the code FOUL to get 50% off your first order. Spotandtango.com/foul. Love that. Love the food. Bentley loves it, and I feel better giving it to her. All right, Ken, let's get back to the show here as far as the Philadelphia Phillies, the analytics department. I guess they were outsourcing some of the things, and it came back to bite them in the rear. What more can you tell us?
Well, it's a very interesting situation. First reported by Front Office Sports yesterday, and Matt Gelb of The Athletic has a very detailed explanation of the lawsuit the Phillies have filed against a company named Zealous. And Zealous is a company that provided to one team in each division exclusive analytical material. And what the Phillies are saying in the lawsuit is, hey, you guys are now giving this to another team or maybe multiple teams in our division. That's not what is in the contract. We were supposed to have exclusive rights. What's interesting here is that in this day and age, most teams have their own analytics departments, and most of them have quite large analytics departments. Actually, all of them have them. So why are the Phillies even using Zealous? That would be the first question. When you have your own department, Matt Gelb reports today it's one of the largest in the league, 41 people, something along those lines. And what Matt explains is that teams sometimes want to use these companies to sort of get a benchmark on their own information, make sure it matches up. And some began using companies like Zealous because initially they didn't have great analytics departments and they needed kind of a foundation to build from. I don't know where this lawsuit is going to end up, obviously, but it's quite interesting that the Phillies believe that their information, that what they were paying for exclusively, is going to another team in their division. And you can understand why they're upset. My question would still be, hey, just do it yourself. And if you've got 41 people, you should be able to check each other pretty well. But for whatever reason, the Phillies decided at some point that they wanted to use Zealous. And now, I don't know that I would say it's bitten them. They feel like their contract has been violated, and now they're seeking remedies in court.
It's insane too when you think about it, Ken, in terms of the amount of money that they're paying Zealous. $600,000 in 2022. They paid another $1.275 million to use the company's services in 23 and 24. And those contracts included division exclusive licenses. I mean, you would think with 41 people on your staff, that's money that could be better spent in other areas. All right, make sure you load up your questions for Grillin Ken as we get to that segment of our program here. And then we do have one question so far, Ken. I want to ask you this, and I'm not sure if this one's from Avery Gibson. We're going to get to that one soon, or if it's regarding the Astros. So I'm just going to ask you this one. Avery Gibson says earlier this week, Ronald Acuna said that he isn't going to be as aggressive on the base pass due to both of his ACL injuries. So obviously talking about the Braves here. Do we believe him, and how critical is he to the challenging Los Angeles Dodgers? As you said earlier to start our show, that the Braves are the biggest challengers to LA.
The second question is easy to answer. He's critical. There's no question about it. If he can get back to anywhere close to where he was in 2023 when he had that historic season, that makes a huge difference. Now, as for him being less aggressive, he wants to be less aggressive, and we'll see once he gets into the game flow whether he will indeed be that way. Because players, in the adrenaline that takes over during a game, sometimes obviously do things that maybe they don't intend to do or wouldn't otherwise think is sensible. Now, Acuna is maturing as a player, obviously, of course. And I would imagine he's going to, in his mind, try to make decisions that would not put him in harm's way. And he'll try to do that as often as possible. So, might we see a difference in his play? Yes, we might see a little bit of a difference. I would expect that, actually. But I don't know that you're ever going to take away Ronald Acuna and his spirit for the game and the way he plays. I don't know that he wants that. I don't know that the Braves want that. They want him to be Ronald Acuna Jr., but I believe what Acuna was talking about there is simply maybe being more sensible in certain game situations at certain times.
Yeah, read the room, read the scoreboard, understand what's going on. Again, I agree with you, Ken. I don't know that you can take away the 150% effort that Ronald Acuna Jr. always gives when he is on the field. Another question for you, as far as the Houston Astros are concerned, Cam Smith making the Houston roster. Locked On Astros wants to know if Cam Smith is on your opening day roster for the Houston Astros.
I would be wary of this. And I know it's intriguing for teams to carry guys from the start of the season because of the prospect promotion incentive. They become eligible for Rookie of the Year. And not just that, but you can get the team a draft pick. I don't know that that's the Astros' motivation. And I don't know that the motivation is to justify the Kyle Tucker trade. The motivation, it seems to me, is that they think Cam Smith is going to be a star and make an impact on their club really quickly. The question, as Chandler Rome has written and talked about on Astros territory, or whatever we call it, Space City territory, he's discussed how they need to find the spot for him so he can play regularly. Manager Joe Espada is adamant that when a young kid comes up, can't put him on the bench, you've got to play him. So that's the question. Chas McCormick in right field, or some kind of combination with Cam Smith. I don't know how it would work, but we're going to see Cam Smith at some point, and it looks like that's going to be a really good trade for the Astros if indeed he proves to be a quality player. Remember, they also got Wisniewski, the pitcher, in that deal, and it looks like it might come out okay.
Question in regards to the Washington Nationals, talking about the NL East here a little bit. Jay wants to know, Ken, now that the Nats are out of the Masson deal, do you see the Lerners selling the team?
This is a big question. And the Masson situation, I used to call it the baseball version of the 100 Years' War with the Orioles, was something that was hanging over the franchise. And it was kind of preventing the learners from maybe getting the price that they would want because a buyer would look at this and say, we don't have any resolution here. Now there is resolution. They will be out of this deal after this season. So it would seemingly pave the way now for the learners to put the team back on the market. This team has gone on the market, off the market, on the market, off the market. But I don't know what the learners' intentions are, only they know. It just seems to me that now, with this resolving, would be the time.
It kind of reminds me too, Ken, of the whole Angels situation and the TV deal, and whether Artie Moreno was going to sell the team, whether he's not going to sell the team. It seems like there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the Washington Nationals. All right, another question for you in terms of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Ella Sheva-Jones, who is a great friend of the program on Dodgers territory. Do you expect Dodgers might trade Dustin May and or Gonsolin, or what about other teams signing Hunter Fiducia, as some teams do need catchers?
On the May question, Gonsolin question, they need to see how it goes. And they need to see if they can keep their pitchers healthy and whether they will need Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin. If at the deadline they see a surplus of sorts, yes, I think they would consider it. Now, one of the questions with the Dodgers is this year, what are they going to do with all these guys? How are they going to pitch? And that might prompt them to do something at some point. You can't stash Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin in AAA or in the bullpen necessarily. I guess you could put May in the bullpen. But they've got a numbers problem. And the numbers problem would indicate to me that at some point, yes, they would have to entertain things, but they also have an issue of, well, the Japanese pitchers, Sasaki and Yamamoto, and Otani as well, once he starts pitching again, will be on every 6-day program, if not more. And their pitchers, let's face it, have gotten hurt over the years. It's been a repeated problem for them. So they're going to be reluctant to trade off their depth, but at some point, it might be a situation where they are looking at it and saying, what are we doing here? We've got to get something for some of these guys and give them an opportunity to play and give us an opportunity to maybe rework our organization in other ways.
And Andrew Friedman was very clear that he wanted to make all these moves in the offseason so he didn't have to deal with these sort of things at the trade deadline. Only time will tell. They're going to go 162-0, Ken. I mean, they already started the season 2-0. All right, let's talk about the Texas Rangers. Booker Washington, great name, by the way. Booker wants to know, with the moves the Rangers made in the offseason, they will make a lot of noise this year. He's asking, do you think that's the case? They're in the AL West.
I like the Rangers in the AL West, and I expect them to be resurgent. Remember last year, they're coming off the World Series title. Teams always struggle, it seems, coming off World Series titles, playing so deep into October. They also regressed offensively. They weren't the same team offensively. And now they're bringing in Jock Peterson. They've traded for Jake Berger. With the pitching staff, they have some questions in the bullpen, but Bruce Bochy's their manager, so you would expect he'd figure it out. John Gray obviously out now with a fractured wrist. Cody Bradford is out as well. So the starting pitching, that is why they signed Patrick Corbin this week to enhance their depth. But I just expect their offense is going to be better. Wyatt Langford in his first full season. Evan Carter coming back. Jace Young is healthy again. It just seems to me that this is going to be a team that we're going to be talking a lot about this season.
Yeah, I love the Rangers. I love Bruce Bochy. I love Skip Schumacher, who apparently is the manager in waiting when Bruce decides to retire again. I actually love this question, and it's the last one here on Grillin Ken. Sammy Boy Smith says, who will be the starting second baseman in the All-Star game now that Jose Altuve is gone? So obviously talking about the AL second baseman in the All-Star game. This is a great question because it's always been Jose Altuve.
It has been, and I'm not sure what the answer is going to be here. We've had other second basemen over the years. Jorge Polanco was one from Minnesota. He's down in Seattle. How about Jackson Holliday? First full season. Let's see what he does. Jackson Holliday, I would think, would have a chance to be really good. Marcus Semien, of course, with the Rangers, is a quality player year after year. But yes, it will change considerably without Altuve in that lineup for the American League at second base. Although he hasn't really played. Actually, he hasn't played an All-Star game, I believe, since the sign-stealing scandal. Every year it's been something else. So he'll get elected, or he has been getting elected, but he hasn't necessarily been the guy. Simeon's been the guy, I know, and others as well. So yeah, the outlook does change at that position.
Yeah, and Marcus Semien, of course, if there's anything, he's going to be in there every single day. That's one guy that absolutely posts. Wouldn't it be funny, Ken, if Jose Altuve made the All-Star game as a left fielder?
It would be impressive if he could do that. And one other guy I'll mention here, Andres Jimenez.
Mm.
And I love this player. Now, I know he doesn't hit. I get it. But he is an elite defender. And if he can get back to where he was a few years ago, offensively, he's certainly a worthy possibility for the All-Star team as well.
All
And I
right,
know I'm
appreciate
missing
you.
some. I know I'm missing some folks. I'm just doing this off the top of my head. So if you got somebody else, I hear you.
That's okay. You get a pass for that. That was kind of a curveball question for you. Okay, time now to get into Dude of the Week.
Dude. Dude. Dude.
All right, Ken, who's your Dude of the Week?
Alanna, I think we're going to come up with the same answer this week, and it's a great answer. It's Major League Baseball, the Cubs, the Dodgers, the players, the Tokyo Series in general. The Tokyo Series was tremendous in so many ways. It showed the impact of baseball in Japan. It also featured some Japanese stars for each team. It was really cool. Imanaga and Suzuki, and then Sasaki and Yamamoto and Otani for the Dodgers. And just to see the starting pitching matchup that first day, Imanaga versus Yamamoto, that was, in my opinion, a great day for Major League Baseball to show how worldwide the sport has gotten, and it has been for quite some time. But that was kind of a vivid reminder. Hey, look at this. We have two teams playing in Japan, two Japanese starting pitchers going against each other, and of course, the best player on the planet playing for the Dodgers as well. That would be a Japanese star, Shohei Ohtani.
I have to say that Tokyo did such an amazing job as the host city, Japan as the host country, and it was such a good spirit the whole time that the Dodgers and the Cubs were there. I wish I would. I've never been so jealous, Ken, to not be on an international trip than I was for this trip. But I agree. I mean, I think we give Rod Manfred a lot of grief, but this is the one way that Commissioner Manfred hit the nail on the head. Tremendous week, and it's good for the game of baseball. All right, time now for the John Fisher Dork of the Week. All right, Ken, who do you have?
I've got a team, an organization, a franchise. The Miami Marlins. Now, they're not Oakland A's territory just yet, but they're threatening to be. And they have a stadium, we'll give them that. But I wrote about them this week, how they have not spent nearly enough money to escape scrutiny. There is a formula in place, according to the CBA, for a team that receives revenue sharing. By the end of the season, your luxury tax payroll has to be 150% of that number you receive. The Marlins, from what I can tell from the estimates that are out there about their luxury tax payroll and what we know about what they receive in revenue sharing, which is among the highest in the game, they're not anywhere close. They're going to trade Sandy Alcantara, no question about that. So they're going to be even further away from that threshold, and I don't see how they get there. This is a team that, the way I described it, they're a blight on the sport, and it's kind of a cynical way to run the franchise when you might be inviting a grievance from the union, and seemingly we're good with that. The other thing the Marlins were in the news for this week was this practice squad that they were going to start, that basically MLB told them, you can't do this. It's going to violate labor issues and all kinds of different things. And that might have been more of a blip. I'll kind of give them a pass on that one. But the way this team is operating under owner Bruce Sherman, I don't get it. To me, they should be a lot more aggressive in a number of areas. They say we're building up infrastructure, we're hiring, we're doing things in the Dominican. Okay. Doesn't mean you can't spend at the major league level too. And we're not asking them to be the Los Angeles Dodgers. We're just asking them to kind of follow the rules here.
Yeah, I think you pay your fair share. Nobody's asking you to be the Dodgers, but we are asking you to make some inroads and to invest in your team and put some decent players on the field so your fans actually have something to be proud of. All right, my dork of the week, and I'm going to give him a pass. Let me preface this. Kobe Mayo on returning to AAA. I can appreciate the competitive fire under him. He was upset that that he was demoted to AAA. And he did apologize. He did offer an apology too. So I'm going to give him a pass. He's a young kid that had a microphone shoved in his face. And he said it's definitely difficult. It obviously sucks because you feel like you've proven everything you've needed to. Here's the thing I have with this, Ken. I think, and this is just a system-wide problem, I think. A lot of the kids coming up today, and I had conversations with veteran players in certain clubhouses that have also said that some of the young minor leaguers coming up today have not really had to pay the same types of dues that some of the players in the past have had to do. And I think a lot of these young players are thinking like, oh, I've always been at the highest point in every level along the way. And they almost have like an elitist attitude and an expectation that because they've been the best at every single level, that it translates immediately to Major League Baseball. And it doesn't. It's a very difficult sport to get into. It's an even harder one to stay in terms of longevity. So you got to be careful about how you handle these situations. Again, young kid, I give him a pass, but it's almost an epidemic with some of these younger kids that don't understand that there's a process to this whole thing. And just because you are invited to spring training or whatever it is, that you're automatically going to be at the big league level or break camp on the big league roster. I mean, there's even some kids in the Cubs and Dodgers organizations that were questioning why they weren't going to Tokyo. Now, you can only take 31 players and you're way down on the depth chart. So again, he apologized, but there needs to be more probably media training at the lower levels in pro ball. But he's my dork of the week.
I will add this, Alanna, and it's a fair discussion on Kobe Mayo and whether he said something that was inappropriate. And he obviously did apologize, as you mentioned. The Orioles, though, could have seen this coming, should have seen this coming. They've had Mayo. They've got Mountcastle at first base. They wanted to keep all these guys together. Well, this is what happens. And there's nothing wrong with having too many good players. And at some point this season, I expect they will need Kobe Mayo. But they also could have used Kobe Mayo to trade for a big starting pitcher this offseason. I'm sure they could have gotten pretty much anyone they wanted with Kobe Mayo. And yet they chose not to do that, and starting pitching is their biggest question. We'll see how it all plays out. Maybe the Orioles are doing entirely the right thing. They've been pretty good at development. There's no question about that. But that's the other angle here, that the Orioles might have not taken the position they should have with Mayo and not headed this off at the pass before they had this logjam.
And I would love to see more communication. I think a lot of this stuff happens because there's a lack of communication, Ken, between the team and perhaps the player. You saw it happen with Rafael Devers in Boston. I mean, it kind of blindsided by this whole situation with third base and Alex Bregman being signed. And he was not even told that that was happening, even when there was a consideration of Alex Bregman going to the Red Sox. So communicate. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here on Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal. I want to shout out our friends at BetMGM. Drive to the rim with a no sweat parlay token. Log into the BetMGM app to get yours. If you don't win your bet, you'll get your stake back in bonus bets. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate it. Foul Territory is next. Cameron Maben is out at Braves camp. We're excited to see that. He's going to be joined by AJ Pierzynski and Scott Braun. And then after that, it's Dodgers Territory with myself and Clint Pasillas. Ken will be back with a brand new Fair Territory on Monday. See you then.